mixed up.
You know, the United States of America was the greatest country before Trump, and it's the greatest country now after Trump. The white supremacists want to go back. They want to go back to the days when it was legal to own slaves.
You are about to be entertained by the ape, the young man who has become a legend of his own time. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
All right. You know, I still get excited, everybody, when that intro starts playing. I still, after all of these, well, I don't want to say all of these years, but I still get excited when I hear that intro. What's up, everybody?
Really? What's up?
Really?
How are you?
Yeah, I get hyped up. Pat Wilder to my right. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
All right, everybody. It's the Ron Kelly Show featuring Pat Wilder. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. I just got a hit from LinkedIn. The show's on LinkedIn right now. So at Facebook.
We're on LinkedIn, Blog Talk Radio, Spotify.
YouTube, we are
all over the land. It is Ron Kelly's land.
Oh, well, you know, it's our world. It's our world. Myself and Patricia Wilder. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? We got 70s and 80s coming up next week. It's just going to be, I'm still not wearing those shorts still. I'm waiting till June. I'm still not wearing those shorts. But how's everybody doing? I'm glad you're okay. There's so much going on with Trump. Oh, man, I just need to take a break from all of this stuff. Anyway, it's just a couple minutes past the hour. And Pat and I, Patricia Wilder and I have a great show lined up for you guys. We tentatively scheduled POP founder Larry Hamm, who is now running for the United States Senate seat that Bob Menendez is going to lose very shortly. The clock is ticking on him. And we're going to talk to him about his campaign and what he plans to do if he wins. We'll talk to him about that, his history of advocating for equal rights.
Yeah, he's been really a relentless advocate for African Americans and dealing with human rights, civil rights for the last 52 years. You know, in fact, you know, I'm really looking forward. I don't know if I could be with you through this whole hour, but you know, I'm hoping to be there. He has really been, since he was a very young man, 17. You know, he became the first student in the community. He held the Newark Board of Education at a very young age. So he's made a lot of wonderful strides, and we're looking forward to having Mr. Hamm on the show to talk about all the wonderful work that he has done with his grassroots organization, People Organization of Progress, POP is what they call it. And now he's running for Senate. And so we are very, very excited about all the work that he has done over the last 52 years, I might add. You know, so he has really had staying power, you know, in this arena, you know, and then from there, we were looking to have Mia Daughtry on. Unfortunately, she's not going to be able to be with us on tonight, but we do want to talk a little bit about the work that she's doing. And this month is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so there is a documentary that's going on Netflix, and it's called The American Nightmare. And so we want to give we want to invite you into the conversation that's happening tomorrow night. You could register to go on to speak, to lend your voice to this topic, and we have the information for that. And so, you know, we're grateful that, you know, we're in the mix and we're moving forward. Excited to be here with you, Ron Kelly.
Yes, ma'am. I'm excited for you to be here too. I know you have situations. Uh,
Yeah, life on life terms is
yeah,
always doing what it does, and we're always being resilient,
yeah.
and
Well, thank you for
pressing forward.
squeezing us. Thank you for squeezing us into your busy schedule. We
Yeah.
appreciate it,
You are
and,
very, very welcome.
and the listeners as well. Okay, everybody. It's about 5 minutes past the hour. We're just getting into this April 25th edition of the Ron Kelly Show featuring Patricia Wilder. And I made a comment about Black Lives Matter the other day because I was going down Broadway. I happened to be in Patterson the other day, Tuesday, I think it was. And I noticed how the paint is from cars and buses and trains and planes and automobiles going over it. It's worn off. So you can't even tell what it originally was meant to say anymore. You just see yellow here and yellow patches with no more Black Lives Matter. And that was done in a number of cities across the United States of America, especially those with large African American
Yeah,
population.
that was down by the college, right?
Right, down by the college in Newark, they did it, in Detroit and Memphis, and anywhere where there was a large population of black folks, they put that thing there. And now, after a certain amount of time, the paint has worn off. And I was just asking the question: has Black Lives Matter worn off? Because we haven't seen much of them since since George
So
Floyd.
you're talking about the organization in and of itself.
Right. We haven't seen much. And then there was a story about the young lady who was bought a house with the funds, bought a house, $1 million house, $1.5 million home with the funds, which killed Black Lives Matter because there were
Well,
people.
have you checked that fact?
Yes, they.
You're not
Well,
spreading
well,
propaganda, are you?
sure I am, but it stands to reason, Patricia, that when if I'm donating to a cause and the person who's running the cause buys a $2 million house, I mean that's going to stop me from contributing, and that was really the first because that money came from corporate donations from companies who felt like uh, that they needed to donate to Black Lives Matter because that was the thing back there at that time where uh, there was a world cry out for justice for George Floyd. The whole entire world was in contact with that. So, um, so corporate folks were giving donations, big companies were giving donations to Black Lives Matter because it was a trendy thing to do at that time. And now, and so like I said, if I was donating to a cause and then the person who's in charge of the cause buys a $2 million house, that's it for me. I'm not giving you nothing else because, you know, now the whole thing is tainted. So I think that Black Lives Matter is tainted now and they've practically just disappeared. I mean, they aren't really doing anything. Are they waiting for the next uh, police shooting or
Well,
what's
there's always things that are happening, but there is also sometimes things they pop up and they pop up for a season, and they do their part. It reminds me, what is that race called when it's like a relay race when you're running just to get to the next person and you pass the torch forward,
relay?
and then
Yeah,
yeah,
relay race.
yeah,
You pass the baton and
yeah.
you stop and the other person goes. Yeah,
Absolute. So sometimes I'm just saying, like, I don't know anything about, um, you know, the house, or is that factual information or not? But sometimes things come up for a season, and you make your contribution to it, during that season, and then it fizzles out, and the next thing happens, and so when George Floyd was killed, and may have been the peak, for that particular organization, doing the work that they were doing just for that season. It's kind of like some things are for a season, a reason, and other things, are for a lifetime, which is why I'm really anxious, to have our guest, Mr. Hamm, on, because he has had staying power, in the community of fighting forward, and bringing about real change. And that's what I hope my life is too. That's what I hope your life is. That's what I hope our life, that we would be a voice for the voiceless, that we would give hope to the hopeless, that we would continue to encourage and to challenge people to grow beyond their comfortability. And there's something about this life, it's not a spectator sport. You got to be in the game. You have to find, a front line to stand on and to fight forward. That's my message definitely to young people. Listen, you can pick a charity now that you can work with, an organization now to make your contribution, to make this world better than we have found it or experiencing it.
Yeah, absolutely, Patricia. And and it is true. The house was $6 million in
So are
California.
you? So you're. So you're fact checking that. That's factual information.
Factual information, $6 million, and it's supposed to be meant as a refuge. So they say, 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms. It's supposed to be meant as a refuge for those who have suffered at the hands of police violence. It's supposed to be like a getaway, in other words. But many folks have said, well, $6 million for a house. People have said,
Houses are expensive.
I guess so. $6 million property purchased with little input from the movement's grassroots organizers or families of police brutality victims whose names rallied the larger movement. After revealing in 2021 that more than $90 million was poured into the foundation.
Well, Mr. Ronald has a comment.
Ronald McCready. Oh, my brother. Ronald McCready, my childhood 4th grade classmate. Don't tell anybody how old you are. Ronald McCready says that you believe that. I don't believe that. So Ronald McCready does not believe that Black Lives Matters is that Black folks really don't matter. The Black Lives Matter. Ronald McCready does not.
No, he's talking about that $6 million house that you're talking about.
Well, he can look it up. $90 million was given to Black Lives Matter during the George Floyd episode, and the latest nonprofit tax filing showed the foundation with $30 million in assets. So what happened to the other $60 million that the company's supposed to have? Now, yeah, and I get it, Ronald McCready, that sometimes people will propagate nonsense and they'll make up these stories to have you believing that Black Lives Matter. That Black lives don't really matter to Black Lives Matter. There are people who do this because who else controls the media? As a matter of fact, with the Trump situation for his the hush money trial, the former head of the National Enquirer is telling the prosecution in the courts how him and Trump's manipulated what was going on the National Enquirer. Well, where the bad stories were being kept out, they colluded. The bad stories were being kept out, and the good stories were being put in. And he's saying that they colluded with each other. So yes, the media can be manipulated. The news stories can be manipulated, and it is remotely possible that folks are making them look bad. Ronald McCready says, "I don't believe
it's a safe house."
So Ronald McCready, all right, now I'm confused now. So because he says, I don't believe it's a safe house for victims. At first he said, you believe that? I don't believe that. Now I'm not sure what he didn't believe, but I guess the whole story about Black Lives Matter
The safe house.
absconding with funds, but and then he says, "I don't believe it's a safe house for victims." Okay, so
So it's okay. So it's clear, that
he doesn't believe it's a safe house for victims.
right.
Okay, all right, yeah, because and I know that the news can be manipulated. I can sit up here and say something that can be completely false and get sued. I can say
Right.
something that's completely false
What do you
and
think about
nobody
Trump's
knows.
lawyers arguing immunity with him staging?
Well, the situation with that. Thank you, Ronald McCready, for your comments. Appreciate you, my brother. So what? So why did Nixon need a pardon if presidents are immune from prosecution on the federal level? Why did Nixon need a pardon? If presidents were immune, Nixon wouldn't have needed a pardon. He could have just strolled off into the sunset without, and no one would have been able to prosecute him. So it's all a bunch of crap. Trump trying to get out of what he's done. He's the most.
Yeah, he's really like the Bob boss. He's
Yeah,
calling the shots.
he's like a Gambino. He's the most corrupt president there has ever been, and he's always talking about the process being corrupt and Democrats being corrupt. As a matter of fact, he made a little stop today, 48th Street and 6th Avenue, I think it was.
After they planted the people there.
Yeah, after they
said, "Listen, we'll be here at such and such a time. Make sure
you're there and you'll get your check." Lamont Gates. I'm sorry, Patricia. Lamont Gates says Nixon didn't face a criminal trial. It was impeachment. Well, Nixon resigned, Lamont Gates, before he was impeached, I believe. He resigned first because he knew that the hammer was speeding toward his head. So I think that Nixon resigned. Right. Ronald McCready says that Nixon resigned. Yeah, Nixon knew he was going to jail, so he resigned. Right, because what he did was a criminal act. And again, if there was no need for, this constitutional amendment, I guess, that Trump is trying to push across the table, Nixon would have just left. And Gerald Ford, who I think became the president after Nixon resigned, he pardoned Nixon. So why the pardon if Nixon was constitutionally exempt from being, prosecuted on the federal level? Ronald McCready says Trump has been manipulating the system since Trump and his father, Fred Trump, they've been manipulating the system for years. As a matter of fact, up in Queens up there, Trump's father was sued by a bunch of black folks in Lefrak City, I think it was, that Trump owns, or Trump's daddy owned, Fred Trump. And Trump they were prosecuted, not successfully prosecuted, and sued for racial profiling when it came to renting apartments to people. So I think it was Lefrak City up in Queens. The Trump daddy owned that, and he was taken to task for not renting apartments to black folks. So this is the thing with Trump. I mean, how many times have you been to Atlantic City? You see the old Trump Plaza still. I think they knocked it down or they turned it into something. The old Trump Plaza sitting there, the old Trump Taj Mahal, with the most horrible food on the planet. I don't think that even the starving people in Bosnia would eat that food. So we know that Trump's been at this for a long time. He's been.
Lamont Gates said he resigned.
P.T. Barnum with a little bit of money. Yeah. Lamont Gates says he resigned for faxing federal impeachment, not jail time. See, he was the architect of the Watergate break-in. They broke into the Democratic Party's headquarters to try to find out what their campaign strategy was. That's what Nixon and his hooligans did. That's what they did. They broke into the Democratic Party headquarters and they stole or they looked around for information on what the Democratic Party's campaign strategy was. Ronald McCready says that I'm starting to believe that Trump is the real Teflon Don. Yeah, he has been so far. He has been, because the same stuff it's bouncing off of him, it's killing others.
Well, no one has been able to do, I guess it's blatantly out front everything that Trump has done. How many charges does he have against him?
90, blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way,
88.
yeah, something like that. They're dealing with him now. But hot off the presses, Harvey Weinstein's conviction has been overturned by
Yes,
a
it
federal
has.
appeals court. So yeah, he'll be his Harvey Weinstein, his conviction has been overturned, and now they have to start all over again because the judge should not. And I thought that too. And I'm not a lawyer. I don't have any legal, uh, you know, experience. But they allowed in the Harvey Weinstein trial, the three women who were accusing Harvey Weinstein, or three of the women who they were accusing Harvey Weinstein, were allowed to testify. Boo boo, that was a bad idea. So Harvey Weinstein, I know he's happy tonight. There's, maybe he'll get an extra biscuit from the from the kitchen. But Harvey Weinstein, his case has been overturned. Ronald McCready says the system told Nixon to resign to save face. Well, his face was gone by the time that he resigned. Lamont Gates says he'll be convicted in all cases. The evidence is all the civil trials. Well, you know what? I doubt if he's good. Well, right now they're trying to see if he violated the gag order. I doubt seriously if he sees a day in jail. Imagine Trump in jail and all the Secret Service people on his tier. They still have to watch him. Because as a matter of fact,
he's not going to go to jail. That's for sure.
No, he's not, but they were talking about it. The Secret Service was talking about what happened if he has to go to jail, and then all the Secret Service people have to go into jail with him. So he'll be the most protected prisoner in the history of incarceration in America. All right, everybody, we'll take a break and we'll come back with more of me and Patricia Wilder. We'll be back in just a moment with more. It's Ron Kelly's Show featuring Patricia Wilder. And it's on blogtalkradio.com, the RonKellyShow.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X. Yes, indeed, I am the man. What a news cycle this is. This guy has got to go. Trump has got to go. George Floyd snuffed out by this police officer who's supposed to be serving and protecting people.
It's the Ron Kelly Show.
All right, everybody, we are back, and the Ron Kelly Show is sponsored in part. Where did Patricia go? The Ron Kelly Show is sponsored in part by Amica and Porterfield Transportation. For 44 years, Amica and Porterfield Transportation has been your source, your trusted source to take you to your destination. School trips, family reunions, you name it, Amica and Porterfield has you covered. Located at 307 Arlington Avenue in Plainfield, New Jersey. Amica and Porterfield can help you. As a matter of fact, you can call, the email is amaker.porterfield@verizon.net. That's amaker.porterfield@verizon.net. And if you call or email them, tell them you heard it right here on Ron Kelly's show. Maybe we could raise their what they're paying us every month. Maybe we can get a raise. Anyway, it's 25 minutes past the hour. It's NFL draft night. Patricia's the biggest night of the year.
Oh, is it?
Yes, for sports, it's the biggest night, and it's been not as big as the Super Bowl, but it's the biggest night in sports. The NFL draft to see who's first, who's second, who's third. But we already know that Caleb Williams is going to be first. The spectacular African American USC quarterback. And see, there are some places where we just dominate, Patricia Wilder.
Oh, it's there. There's plenty of places, right?
There's plenty, especially, in basketball we dominate, in football we dominate. Baseball, not so much. White folks basically have that covered in the Hispanics of
No, Latinos are
rising, yes.
in baseball. Soccer.
Well, yeah, and soccer is a very big sport, but they're not going to get their draft is not going to be covered like the NFL draft. All right, Lamont Gates says, I do believe jail, but definitely conviction. That's what Lamont Gates says. Ronald McCready says Nixon was able to ride into the sunset and live in seclusion. Yeah, I got you, Ronald McCready. Name Ronald McCready in seclusion because he was pardoned. And the whole thing with Trump is just trying to get out of the
jail.
He's trying to get out of the election subversion case. As a matter of fact, there's the folks, because he had folks, because each state has a certain amount of electors, and Trump had fake electors going to the capitals of the battleground states, claiming to be electors to try to. I mean, and we heard the video, we heard the audio tape of Trump and the Secretary of State of the state of Georgia. We heard Trump begging for votes, that he needed so many votes to overcome Biden. So we heard all of this stuff. So if he gets off, it'll be like a smack in the face to jurisprudence, I guess you can say, in this country if he gets off, because the evidence is there. He was taped talking to a Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and he was, and I heard that we all heard the tape, but he's asking for votes. Like, can you give me these votes? He's obviously guilty, so he's trying to get out of that by claiming presidential immunity.
So
okay.
I'm sorry. Go on.
No, go ahead, Patricia.
Well, I was off of Trump, really. I think he gets way too much press, in my opinion. I have him up every day, and then he stopped to greet the people that they staged to be there for him today. But yes, enough of Trump. But we have to pray for the country, for sure, that we live in. But you also are aware that April is Sexual Assault Awareness. And so Mia Daughtry is a part of a documentary that's going to be on Netflix tomorrow, the 26th, that's talking about, it's a 3-part series. And they really want men and women to come and be a part of that dialogue. And so this is, you could register and then you could watch the series. It's already going on Netflix. So the hope was that you could watch it and then come and be a part of the discussion. This event is open to men and women. It says, and even if folks cannot watch the documentary, they can still join and be a part of the bigger conversation. The Passaic County Domestic Sexual Violence Center in Patterson will be a part of participating. and the documentary on tomorrow night. That's Friday, April 26th at 7 p.m.
Cool,
And
cool,
you
Patricia.
go to the website. Can you put that in the chat? You can go to the website, egypt.org, um, to register for that event. It's a free event. Registration will close tomorrow at 12 noon. That's in collaboration with the founders David and Mia Daughtry of Out of Egypt Outreach Ministry. And so we want to encourage your voice to be heard, your opinion to be lended to this conversation. And so please, if you can be a part of the dialogue on tomorrow, as well as it's called American Nightmare on Netflix. You can watch that. It's going now.
Yeah, and I did have the someone who ran the Passaic County Witness and Victim Witness Advocacy. I don't know if this is the same lady. It was such a long time ago. Um, no, I don't think this is the same lady.
Right.
This
Well,
is,
they've partnered actually with the Passaic County Domestic Violence Center. So they are part of this conversation piece on tomorrow, being that we are, once again in sexual assault awareness and bringing awareness to this very critical issue.
yes, 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 absolutely. And you know, it's just kind of rampant right now. Speaking of Harvey Weinstein, it's kind of rampant right now. Um, how many cases there are of sexual um, assault, and there is a number that you could call the National Sexual Assault Hotline. The number is 1-800-656-4673. That's 1-800-656-4673. That's your National Sexual Assault Hotline. It's completely confidential. And you could also call you could also call RAIN, the National Sexual Assault Hotline, for the organization RAIN, RAINN. And the phone number is 800-656-4673. That's 800-656-4673. You can call them. They have an online chat. They speak to you in Spanish. And once again, the telephone number for RAIN, RAINN, is 800-656-HOPE. That's 1-800-656-HOPE. HOPE is 4673. So the National Domestic Violence Hotline is also available. I mean, there's a lot of resources, people.
Absolutely.
If you've got, if what
From mental
I
health
mean,
to substance
yeah,
abuse
I know
to
men that get beat up too. So you can call as well, the National Domestic Violence Hotline and the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Yes,
yeah, and
absolutely.
I think too, another thing for suicide prevention, like if you know someone who's in mental crisis, mental distress, that you certainly can have them to reach out to 988, and that's suicide prevention. Those conversations are absolutely confidential, and so we really want to be able to provide resources to people that are standing in need, and to help them to understand that they do not have to go it alone.
Absolutely. Oh, Patricia, and we are blessed to have
I am
Lawrence
so
Hamm,
blessed to see
the,
Mr. Hamm.
this
Yes.
New Jersey Senate candidate from the Democratic ticket. Mr. Hamm, how are you, sir? Welcome to the program.
All right, I'm fine. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
absolutely.
Okay, good, good.
Yes.
We can
I'm
hear you.
sorry. I'm plugging into the show from my car. I got an emergency call from students at Princeton University. They have been demonstrating against the war in Gaza,
Yes.
calling on Princeton to divest its funds from companies doing business with Israel. and some students were arrested this morning. Now, I led a movement to get Princeton to divest from South Africa in the night in 1978, and
Yes,
and
yes, you
we
did.
and we took over Nassau Hall. They never called the police. So here we are in the 21st century, and it seems that there's a more repressive atmosphere on that campus and other campuses today, all over the country. These colleges are calling the police out on peaceful student protests, and
Yes,
this is very concerning to me. I really condemn it. Universities are supposed to be a place for freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom to
absolutely.
protest. I mean, it's not a real college experience unless you at least was in one protest, right?
Yes,
And
At least one,
at
yes.
least one, right? So the student called me today, and I mean, I had a full schedule of campaign related events, but I felt it important to go down there. And when I went down there, I thought I had stepped back in
really? Into
1970. Yes, man.
1978.
I was like,
I
I
see you
thought
led the movement. I was reading up on that. I have, all of these wonderful works that you have been doing, sir, for well over 50 years of, really shining a light and making a difference on, very important topics. And so we're absolutely so pleased, to have you with us on tonight just to talk about a bit of POP, People,
yes,
Organization, of Progress, the
yes.
wonderful work that you have dedicated your life to. And so, please, we definitely want to. So you were there today, and you were having a flashback moment.
Man, it was like I had stepped back in time. But I don't just mean in terms of my internal memories, the actual layout of everything and the students in the plaza. And it was just like it was in 1978, except the issue is different. Now it's not apartheid South Africa. Now it is apartheid Israel. And I commend those students. They asked me to speak at their rally today. There had to be, I would say, maybe 300 or 400 students sitting peacefully on the plaza, being addressed by different people, and they invited me to speak, and it was wonderful. And to try to weave back into what you asked me to talk about tonight, um, I'm a I'm a product of the movement. Um, Unlike some, I did not grow up in a movement family. Um, my my parents were not particularly political. At least that, I mean, I was a child. What did I know, right? But I have no recollections of my mother saying she's gonna go to an NACP meeting. My folks were regular working people. My father, he was a truck driver. My mother was a seamstress in the cleaners around the corner. I got in the movement when I was a senior in high school, and I led a protest at Arts High. We had a walkout. We marched downtown. We sat in at the what it was called then the Gateway Hotel. Today it's called the Doubletree Hotel. And as a result of that, I was appointed to the Newark Board of Education at the age of 17.
Youngest ever, right?
Youngest ever, and I think I still hold the record because I wasn't even old enough to vote. I was 17. I wasn't going to turn 18 until December. I had already been accepted and was scheduled. Well, I started at Princeton University, but the board was a little too much, and I left Princeton University in the fall of 1971. I served my 3 years on the board, and then I returned to Princeton in 1974. And it was 74 to 78 that we began the anti-apartheid movement on Princeton's campus. We organized a group called the People's Front for the Liberation of Southern Africa. And its express purpose was to get Princeton to divest from companies doing business in South Africa. In my senior year, we had 66 consecutive days of protest at the
Wow.
administration building, Nassau Hall. And we took over Nassau Hall on April 14th, 1978. We held it for 2 days. 210 of us got inside, 400 were guarding us outside, and Princeton divested from 3 companies doing business with South Africa. In 1980, I returned to Newark, and I wanted to continue to be an activist. I was married. I had a daughter at that time. Um, I was working, but I still wanted to be an activist. I wanted to be active. And so some of those who had been with me in the high school student movement, we're now all grown, with
Yes.
responsibilities, but we got together in 1981 and we decided we wanted to form our own political organization. And so in 1982, we formed the People's Organization for Progress, which is an all volunteer grassroots organization that works for racial, social, economic justice
Yes.
and peace. And people say, well, what do you do? The bottom line, we protest. That's what we do. I mean, we do other things, but our primary activity is to challenge authority, to
Okay.
challenge oppression, to challenge the establishment, to demand change. That's what we do. And
Thanks. We've seen you everywhere, Mr. Hamm. You know, the
with the
whole
yellow shirt on, right?
yeah, the whole time I've been doing this program, I've seen you out there. And Patricia said she did the research on this program. It's produced by Patricia Wilder, actually.
One
And
of my special moments was, and I was, in my 20s, and I remember when Amadou Diallo was shot 41 times,
Yes,
and we were going to Washington,
yes,
and I was so excited, and it was me and my eldest sister, um, and I think we kind of got to the bus last, and we were on the bus with
fashionably late,
Baracus.
fashionably late.
Well, we was hustling to make it. We was hustling to make it
it,
there.
it was 5 o'clock in the morning, right? It was hard to get there at
Yes,
5 a.m., right?
we were
No,
in
but
the hall.
I probably would have been late myself.
But that was the first time, and I remember like on that bus, and I remember I can't remember the brother's name, but he was taking photos.
Yes,
And they were going around and saying to people, why were you here? Why did you decide to go? Why did you decide to come and be a part of this movement? And
Let me put this question up here, Patricia, for a
yes.
second. Pardon me for interrupting you. Lamont Gates, this question is for you, Mr. Hamm. He says, what do you believe is the relevance of protesting universities who are not responsible for the inept decisions of Middle Eastern leaders?
yes. That's a fair question. I mean,
Yeah.
what is the point of protest? The point of protest is to draw attention to a problem and also to apply political pressure to help resolve that problem. I mean, the same question that he asks regarding the situation in the Middle East, we could have said that about colleges during the civil rights movement. During the civil rights movement, Black students were protesting, and they were protesting at their universities. We could have asked, well, why y'all protesting at the university? To draw attention to the problem. Student protest is almost as old as universities themselves. And you can go back, student protest is not just the product of the 20th century. You can go back to the 19th century. Students have always been, because they're engaged in intellectual work, they always are a flashpoint for issues of moral importance and political importance. I mean, students protested at universities about slavery, believe it or not, during the 19th century. So we need student protests. Without student protests, the Vietnam War wouldn't have been ended. Without student protests, there wouldn't have been the civil rights movement wouldn't have been successful, because actually the movement was waning even before 1960. Once the bus boycott was over, things would kind of calm down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The students that got up at North Carolina A&T and went to the Woolworths in Greensboro and said, look, we buy our pens, our pencils, and our books here. Y'all can't serve us. And they sat down at Woolworth's lunch counter. And that sparked sit-ins all over the South. That summer, the summer following that protest, which started on February 1st, 1960, more than 3,000 students were arrested in all kinds of civil rights protests in 1960 and the years that followed. Remember, the SNCC was not only concerned about civil rights, it was John Lewis. They edited his speech. He was the only youth to speak at the March on Washington in 1963. And he was going to talk about SNCC's opposition to the Vietnam War. They said, you can't give that speech. Give it here. We're going to take that Vietnam stuff out. And that's what happened. They took out Vietnam. And, you know, you can actually go online and look up his speech and you can see the part that he took out. You know, students protested during the Black Power movement, you know, and on and on and on. I mean, look, if it wasn't for a worldwide student protest, Nelson Mandela would have died in prison. That is the truth. You know,
Yes.
when I started on Mandela in we picked it up in 1975. We had buttons that free Nelson Mandela. The truth was, at that moment, we thought, well, Mandela's probably going to die in prison. These people are so hateful, they're not going to let him out. But look what happened. As a result of worldwide protests, a prisoner for 27 years comes out of prison. And as a result of the struggle here and the struggle on the ground of the Black people in South Africa, he becomes the first Black president of South Africa.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Hamm. Everybody,
yes, sir.
The leader of the POP, People's Organization for Collectivist, Lawrence Hamm, is with us tonight. Now, we were talking a little bit about the George Floyd,
yes,
with the Black Lives Matter,
yes,
and the colleges. I didn't see anybody. Maybe I missed it, but I didn't see any.
So he's saying,
hold on, Patricia. I didn't see any of the colleges protesting police shootings and killings of African Americans. I didn't see any colleges protesting that. So, what do you think was the deciding factor in that?
Well, keep in mind, first of all, the Black Lives Matter movement and its protests was a magnificent show of humanity, of human concern. But remember, the Black Lives Matter movement was preceded by other student protest movement. Remember the protests around Michael Brown that was killed in Ferguson? That's actually where Black Lives Matter originated, you know, and then it grew in the years following that. Remember the protests against the Jena 6? Those were students. They were protesting all over college campuses. Remember the protests against Trayvon Martin? Those were students. They were protesting all over college campuses. So they kind of, you know, if you like cooking, you know, you heat the skillet, you put the butter in, and then you put your cheese sandwich in, you make your grilled cheese sandwich. They got things ready for George Floyd. Even Ahmaud Arbery. I remember 2 weeks, George Floyd hadn't even come on the scene yet. Ahmaud Arbery was killed down there in Brunswick, Georgia. And people were protesting that, but the protest was small. We had one in Newark, one more than 150 people. 2 weeks later, George Floyd was killed. We called for a demonstration on Thursday. According to the New York Times, 12,000 people showed up on Saturday. You know, the movement ebbs and flows. And most times it really does that beyond our control. You get a series of objective conditions in place, and you get a series of subjective conditions. You could have, objectively speaking, George Floyd be killed, but if people were of a certain mindset, there wouldn't have been any protests. There wouldn't have been any black. You have to have the objective conditions of oppression, but you also have the subjective condition, the political consciousness, that makes people aware and says to people, now is the time.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, Mr. Hamm. We're going to take a quick break. Patricia will come back. I have another question. Someone on the line watching on Facebook has another question for you, Mr. Hamm. So we'll come right back.
I can't wait.
Yeah, we'll come right back. with that. Everybody, it's the Ron Kelly Show featuring Patricia Wilder, our special guest, New Jersey Senate candidate and leader of the People's Organization for Progress, Mr. Lawrence Hamm, is here with us as well. So we'll take a break. We'll come back in just a few minutes. It's the Ron Kelly Show, and it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and blogtalkradio.com.
You know, the United States of America was the greatest country before Trump, and it's the greatest country now after Trump. The white supremacists want to go back. They want to go back to the days when it was legal to own slaves.
You are about to be entertained by the ape, the young man who has become a legend of his own time. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Yes, indeed, I am the man. What a news cycle this is. This guy has got to go. Trump has got to go. George Floyd snuffed out by this police officer who's supposed to be serving and protecting people.
It's the Ron Kelly Show.
All righty then, we're back, everybody. It's Ron Kelly Show, Ron Kelly Talk Radio program featuring Patricia Wilder, who produced this program. Actually, I didn't do anything. She produced the program, so thank you, Patricia, for that. We have a New Jersey Senate candidate and leader of the People's Organization for Progress, Mr. Lawrence Hamm, is with us tonight.
Yes.
Yes, and Lamont Gates says, Dr. King said protesting is meaningless if laws don't actually change. The point is, the issues in the Middle East are deeply embedded and are causing a ruckus at the universities. I think it's not targeting the real issues. What do you say to that, Mr. Hamm?
I say that I categorically disagree. I'm glad the students are protesting. Let me tell you something. If the students weren't protesting, the Biden administration wouldn't even have changed their rhetoric. You notice they have changed their rhetoric. You know, a year ago, Biden said, I am a Zionist. He gave that State of the Union speech and said without congressional approval, he's going to send weapons and aid to Israel. And he did that. And now genocide is occurring in Gaza. If there hadn't been these protests, and a lot of the protests are Jewish young people, Jewish students. So these are not anti-Jewish.
Yes, there are some Jewish organizations.
That's
that
right.
Protesting.
I mean, they're the ones getting arrested in mass. The Jewish Voices for Peace shut down Grand Central Station in New York City, shut down Penn Station. Man, they've been going to town, and it has forced the Biden administration to change its rhetoric. The other day, Biden said, I want a ceasefire. But see, here's the hypocrisy. He'll say he wants a ceasefire, but yesterday he signed the bill for $95 billion to send $25 billion to Israel. I mean, what? Somebody explain it to me. How can you be for ceasefire and you sending more weapons, more bullets, and more bombs for genocide? And keep in mind, who took Israel to the International Court of Justice? South Africa. Black South Africa took Israel to the International Court of Justice. Why was that? Because during the struggle for liberation in South Africa, the Palestine Liberation Organization under Yasser Arafat gave critical support to the African National Congress and the partisans that were fighting in South Africa. You know, ANC, people talk about Nelson Mandela. You know, Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela fought an armed revolution. He wasn't in Portsmouth prison for peaceful protests. He was bombing military facilities. That's why he got put in jail. He was bombing, blowing up train tracks and stuff. The African National Congress had an armed wing. The name of the armed wing was Umkhonto we Sizwe, which means the spear of the nation. Who trained them? One of the people that trained them was Palestinian Liberation Organization. One of the people that gave financial aid was Muammar Gaddafi, who was the president of Libya, and on and on and on. That's why Mandela, when he was alive, he said, we in South Africa will not be free until Palestine is free. That's a quote unquote. for
Let me
Nelson
ask you.
Mandela. So
Let me ask
when they took Israel to the International Court of Justice, they were fulfilling their revolutionary responsibility, their pledge that they had made when Mandela was still alive.
All right, Mr. Hamm, let me ask you. Let me ask. I know Patricia probably has a question too. In the last few minutes of the broadcast. Um, Now, tell us a little bit about your campaign and what made you decide to run, and how's it going, and how do you expect it to turn out?
Why am I running? I am running because I'm trying to push forward the progressive agenda whose origins go all the way back to Martin Luther King. You know, I was the chair of the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2020
In New Jersey.
in New Jersey.
Right.
I was a delegate for Bernie Sanders in 2016 to the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia. But believe it or not, the very progressive platform that Bernie Sanders ran on, its origins go all the way back to Dr. King. If you read Martin Luther King, he wrote 6 books. You read his 4th book, Why We Can't Wait. In that book, Dr. King talked about a Bill of Rights for the socially disadvantaged. He later called it an Economic Bill of Rights. What does that mean? Universal health, free universal health care for everybody. Housing as a human right, free education, a living wage, and on and on and on. Those go back to Martin Luther King. And then they were reiterated. I was the youngest delegate to the National Black Political Convention at Gary, Indiana in 1972. I was an elected delegate at 18 to Gary. I voted on the Gary platform. You can look up the Gary platform now. What is the first thing when you open that platform? Universal health care. These were things that we were talking about, but see, because we were cut off from our contemporary history, we didn't know that. So we think all these things are new. They're not new. They were reiterated again when Jesse Jackson ran for president in 1984 and in 1988. In fact, Jesse Jackson was pushing for negotiations with the PLO in 1988. That's one of the reasons, that's one of the things that got him in hot water with the Zionists. They used a remark that he made about Town, but the real story behind that is that Jesse was trying to support self-determination for the Palestinian people, and they didn't like that, and they were going to, smear his name and try to discredit him so he couldn't get the Democratic Party nomination. So I'm running. I ran in 20 against Cory Booker, and I'm running now in 24 for the seat made vacant by incumbent, twice indicted Senator Robert Menendez, who was indicted on corruption charges and for being a foreign agent of the country of Egypt. So I'm running to push the progressive agenda. Our children should have free college. Why are we paying for college? All the other advanced industrial countries don't pay for college. If you do well in school, you go to school for free, and that's that. They don't have student debt, $100,000. We could bail out the banks. We could end student debt. You can't
Absolutely.
pay rent anywhere in the United States of America on a minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, which is the minimum wage here in the United States, the federal minimum wage now. The minimum wage should at least be $17 an hour. That's the bill I'm going to put in when I'm elected U.S. Senator. All the other countries, including Canada to our north and Mexico to our south, have universal health care. We should take Medicare for all, which is for senior citizens, and expand that to the entire population today. Those are some of the things, not to mention reparations. I stand firmly, have stood on reparations since I met Queen Mother Moore. I met Queen Mother Moore in 1972 at Gary, Indiana. So this country owes reparations to African Americans. I'm going to fight for that when I'm in the United States Senate.
That's
Yeah.
that's a really interesting topic. Reparations and the ways of being able, to measure that. What are some of the ways that we look to receive reparation? That was one. The other thing is that you had a book. Didn't you do a book with
Yes. And that Austin.
Yes, 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 yes.
Here's my book.
Yes, yes.
Lawrence Hamm, A Life in the Struggle.
Yes, yes, yes,
And
sir.
where
That's
can
my
we
book.
get? And where can we get that?
You can get it from Amazon. It's on Amazon now. Or you could go to the publisher, African World Press. African World Press is the press that published my book. And you can go there, either place, and get this book.
And you also, my last question for you is the law to teach Black history in New Jersey public schools.
Yes, the Amistad Act.
Yes.
Very important. The Amistad Act was a bill put forward by former Assemblyman William Payne, 92 years old, still alive, still kicking, still working, and his nephew, Assemblyman Craig Stanley. They put that bill in 2003. We supported it then. When I say we, I'm talking about the People's Organization for Progress. The problem is this. Amistad requires Black history to be taught in all public school districts. Every public school district is supposed to develop an Amistad curriculum. There are 600 public school districts in the state of New Jersey. Less than 20 have actually complied with Amistad. So I say to every person that's watching this video, you should call your school and ask your principal, do they have the Amistad curriculum? Have they put it together in the school? Are they in compliance with the requirement that Black history be taught in all New Jersey public schools? And if I'm elected to the U.S. Senate, I'm going to propose a national Amistad Act because they're trying to outlaw Black history.
Yes, they are.
And down there in Florida, teachers have lost their jobs for daring to teach Black history. So, we need a national Amistad Act. These people, don't you know, in Mississippi and many states of the South, the governor of Mississippi just proclaimed April as Confederate Heritage Month. Can you believe that?
No.
That in some states, they don't celebrate Dr. King's birthday. They celebrate the birthday of Robert E. Lee, who was the supreme commander of the Confederate forces that fought to keep us enslaved. This is in the 21st century, y'all.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work to do, right? We got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Okay, we're just a couple minutes over the
I apologize.
Ending of the no, not at all, sir. We welcome you. We're glad that you are here. Now, the name of the book is
the book,
right?
Is Lawrence Hamm, A Life in the Struggle.
Okay, everybody. Lawrence Hamm, Life in the Struggle is the name of the book. You can get it on Amazon. I know a lot of y'all are Amazon subscribers. I am too. I like to go in there and get stuff the next day because I can't wait. So, do log on to Amazon or African World Press.
Yes, African World Press.
Okay, yeah. Go to Amazon and purchase the book, or you can get it from the publisher, African World Press. We are honored to have you here tonight.
Honored.
Oh, no. The honor was mine. Thank you for having me on your show.
And we're going to have you.
Thank you.
And we're going to have you back before the election. The election is
June 4th.
Right? Okay.
June 4th.
All right. Save some time for us. We're going to have you back before the election. We want to get into some more stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
I wasn't able to get into my stuff tonight, but we have you back. We'll get into.
I can't wait. I can't wait to come back.
Thank you again, sir, for over 50 plus years of serving and for being with the students and going down to the college today and being with them. We bless you and continue to fight forward.
All right, everybody. Democratic senatorial candidate out of New Jersey, Mr. Lawrence Hamm, and you can get his book. What was the name of the book again?
Lawrence Hamm, A Life in the Struggle.
I got it right there.
Okay, Lawrence Hamm, A Life in the Struggle. Amazon, you can get it, or go to African World Press. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Peace and blessings to you.
Save us some space. We're gonna have you back, and you can come back.
I can't wait. Power to the people.
Some more stuff.
Power to the people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Take care now.
Right. Okay, everybody. That's it. Thank you, Patricia. This segment of Rock Kelly Show was produced by Patricia.
You're very young.
everybody.
Wilder.
Your very own Patricia Wilder. Thank you so much, Dr. Hamm. Shout out to Bunny McKnight. Thank you, brother. Bunny McKnight showing us some love out of the city of Newark, New Jersey. And thank you for everybody on Ron Gates, Ronald McCready, the people on YouTube who I couldn't get to. But I want to thank everybody for partaking in the Ron Kelly Show featuring Patricia Wilder this evening. Now it's NFL draft night, and I am going to the cigar bar and have a cigar and watch people sit there and be frustrated because they didn't get picked. Anyway, thank you, Patricia.
You're
Thank
welcome,
you.
sir. Blessings to you all. Thank you all for joining us.
And go on to Netflix so we can get that
Correct. Don't forget, you can go to Netflix to The American Nightmare. It is doing the conversation tomorrow night, April 26th at 7 p.m. You can be a part of that conversation as we are talking about Sexual Assault Awareness Month and just shining a light on some of the things that go on in our community. But we need you. We need your voice. We need your input. We need you at the table as we fight forward to address and have hard conversations, but to bring about necessary change.
Oh, and Bunny McKnight said nothing surprises me anymore. Yeah, true indeed, sir. True indeed. Thank you, Bunny McKnight, for partaking in the Ron Kelly Show, and everyone else who did YouTube, LinkedIn, who I can't see, Twitter, who I also can't see. But I know that the people. I have to set up something where I can see those folks who are partaking of the program. Okay, Patricia, we're out of here. It's 6 minutes past the hour. We are out of here. It's been a pleasure. Thank you to New Jersey senatorial candidate, Democrat from the state of New Jersey, and leader of the POP, Mr. Lawrence Hamm, for taking time out of his incredibly busy schedule to sit with us and give us. So next time when he comes on, I gotta make him duck and weave a little bit.
Well, he can definitely handle it.
Yeah, next time he comes on, I gotta. Thank you, Bunny McKnight. Thank you so much, man. Thank you, brother. Great show as always. And thank everybody for watching the program. Patricia and I, we're glad we're able to make a difference in folks' lives and give them the information that they need to keep on pushing. So thank you, Patricia. Thank you. Prayers to your sister. And thank you for coming on. I don't want to say in spite of that, but
so let's sign off, and then we can have another dialogue. Peace and blessings to the people.
All right, everybody, we're out of here.
Back here next Thursday.
Right, we'll see you next time right here on the Ron Kelly Show featuring Patricia Wilder. So until then, I like to say it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. And we may not have it all together, Patricia, but
together we can have it all.
That's what I'm talking about. We're out. Thank you, everybody. See you next week.